Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're watching us from. On the behalf of Nepal Institute of International Cooperation and Engagement and Water Policy Center, it gives me a great pleasure to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, chair, and the participants who have joined this session. To chair this session, we have Professor Liyaqat Khan with us today. It is my great pleasure to introduce the chair. Professor Liyaqat Khan, Associate Professor in the Department of Civics and Politics, University of Mumbai. He is also the coordinator of the Postgraduate Diploma in International Study programs in the university. Specialized in Defense and Strategic Studies and Eurasian Studies, he has published numerous articles and research papers in national and international journals. Besides, he has coordinated many national and international seminars and conferences. He also visited United States in 2009-10 to attend International Visitor and Leadership Program. Without extending further, let me request Professor Liyaqat Khan to take charge of this session.
Very thank you. I'm really glad that the Nepal Institute of International Cooperation and the Director of Water Policy Center has jointly began with this program, and we will what we have got is 90 minutes 90 minutes with us, and we have around 4 speakers, so each will get 20 minutes, and after 20 minutes we have 10 minutes to discuss. So by 15 minutes I'll tell you to wind up, to sum up, to conclude, and kindly conclude after 15 to 20 minutes, because everybody, like anybody who's overstepping will also overstep into the space of the other panelists. So there's a request that everybody kindly adhere to the timings. In this COVID-19, we are really we are in a very different dynamic situation where states are not only looking inwards but also looking outside what is happening, because inward is a problematic situation, outside is a solution. So COVID-19 brings both the situation to look at to the situation and to go closer to the solutions, and thereby it is very important that the international cooperation between states are further rejuvenated, are further taken into the next level, so that they will be able to move along and get their states in a better shape. So with this small note, I request Dr. Manas Beher, who is head Department of Political Science, RD Women's University, Bhubaneswar, and he will be speaking on challenges and opportunities for a multipolar world order in post-pandemic. Over to Dr. Manas Beher. Is she hearing? Manas Beher? Is she there on the desk? If she is not there, I'll request Dr. Priyadarshini Sahu, who's an assistant professor.
Am I audible, sir? Hello.
Yeah.
Dr.
Please begin. It's your turn. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Liyaqat Khan. Thanks to all of you present here, Director WPC and Bhavar Raj Singh and other Dr. Priyadarshini and other attendants here. So as all of you know, my topic or concentration will be on post-pandemic world order, and I will be advocating for a multipolar world, which seems to be very difficult in COVID situation right now. So question is, there are so many narratives surrounding management of COVID-19, creation of or emergence of COVID-19, and post-COVID-19. So unfortunately, what is happening right now, there is a ideological struggle between liberal forces and realist forces and pro-socialist or pro-Marxist forces all around the globe. So actually, COVID-19 has exposed the weaknesses of the structure that emerged in neoliberal era after the 80s in the world and 90s in India. So what has emerged? That was, as all of us know, Fukuyama's narrative that is the end of history, and that failed, right? And the COVID-19 has seriously exposed the weaknesses of the present neoliberal globalized system in managing a virus that is COVID-19. So what is happening? What is the basic contradiction in management of COVID-19? Then I will come to the emergence of COVID-19. So in management, this is a global pandemic. This is a global issue affecting the entire mankind decisively, clearly, and without any doubt. But the management of COVID-19, engaging COVID-19 or fighting COVID-19, whatever it may be, has become thoroughly localized, state-centric, inside the domestic spaces of every state. No state is willing to cooperate another state in a general manner throughout the world. I'm not talking of exceptions. Some states are cooperating, some states in import of medical kits or PPE kits or whatever it may, medicine, or in the creating a vaccine or preparing a vaccine. The question is how we can manage a global pandemic by a local methodology. So that is the biggest contradiction as well as the challenge to the present world order. So the paradigms of liberal theory, that is world order, and the paradigms of neoliberal theory or realist theory, that is international world order, and the neoliberal theory, that is globalization, all paradigms of international system management or world system management has thoroughly failed in this COVID-19 management in the world. So WHO failed, United Nations failed, and where are the main advocates or main institutions of globalization? WTO, World Bank, IMF, where is their significance, their role and relevance in this COVID management? So all these have exposed the global institutions. So this is the biggest challenge where we have to go in post-pandemic situation. So my argument will be like this: globalization has failed. When I use the term globalization, I use it in the sense of neoliberal globalization based on market economy that was advocated. Why it has failed? First, the major cause is that this neoliberal globalization has identified health as a major sector of investment, and that led to privatization of the health services in Italy, in Germany, in France, in America, and other developed nations, along with developing countries of Africa and Asia like India. So what is the scene emerging now? The entire private health sector or insurance-based induced health sector has failed or has not come to the protection of COVID-19 issues or management of COVID-19. So in India particularly, there is no significant role of private health sector. In America also, and in other developing, Italy also. In Italy, we found in the 90s there was a privatization of health services. Now we are finding in India since last 20 years or 2 decades, we are finding aggressive privatization of health services. So the logic is throughout the world we have seen privatization of health services, and that failed in management of COVID-19. So what has emerged in these pre-COVID-19 situation? The political economy of globalization is controlling the management of COVID-19. So what is that basically? That is a huge emergence of a supply chain, production and marketing or distribution, then wage labor, cheap wage labor in different pockets of the world, concentrated particularly in China, and then we have this trade system, world trade system. So that accelerated the process of global contact, human to human contact, and that is a major factor in spreading the virus. So I am not talking that we will go back to pre-globalization era, or we can stop the process of interconnectedness among the globe. That is not the question. Question is, what is the model of this interconnectedness? What is the model of this economic development? What is the model of this environment management? So the bigger issues are coming in post-pandemic. The issues of nuclear proliferation, the issues of climate change, the issues of hunger. So these are the major issues. And this system, the present global system, political system, social system, economic system, cultural system, all these have failed to manage the virus So how are we going to manage the other issues that is coming in post-pandemic? That is important issues that will affect. Now the hunger index will rise. Now the economic divide will rise. What we have observed during this pandemic management from December till now, August, the economic divide are more clear, more intensive, and more widespread. And the job losses and the effect on or the impact on the poor people, particularly those who are affected by hunger and job losses, they will be seriously vulnerable in post-pandemic society. And there will be no state who will be managing. There are some alternative pictures who will be managing the post-pandemic world. So first thing, all the present models have failed, paradigms have failed. Second thing, the intensity of economic division is going to be more in post-pandemic. Third thing, the major issues of natural environment or protection of environment or climate change, issues of climate change, issues of global hunger, and issues of nuclear proliferation will come up in a more intensified manner in post-pandemic. So question is, why it is going to be so? So my argument is like this, because of the globalization or neoliberal globalization, this present world order is not going to help in managing the crisis. So the question of a new normal that we are discussing in this webinar, the question of new normal, what is the new normal? So I am taking you to the idea of democracy and how it is being weakened by the management of this crisis, COVID-19. The Chinese model of using force or coercive method in managing or containing COVID-19 has been appreciated worldwide, and it has led to the weakening of local democracy. So nowhere in the world, including India, there is the strengthening of or use of the local democracies or local democratic institutions in management of this pandemic. So what has happened? Again, the police, the use of force, the coercive method, all have come to the center stage. This has a serious consequence for democracy in future. So democratic space is being squeezed in the current pandemic management. So that is a concern for all of us. This is one important aspect that will going to affect democracy. So in post-pandemic order, we have to be very cautious worldwide that we have to protect the space, existing space, and also to expand that space, intensify that space, that is democratic space. This is a bigger challenge. Next is, what should be the role of state? Really say this is state-centric, and they are becoming closer to truth in post-pandemic management. States have confined themselves to their domestic spaces in the management of pandemic. What has happened? WHO has come to a controversy. Japan and China, America has accused it as the stooge of China, and China is countering that it is not a one virus, it's a global virus or pandemic. Then United Nations sat once the Security Council with a non-conclusive agenda, and they did not have a very clear agenda. United Nations also failed or weakened at least its position vis-a-vis pandemic. So what should be the nature of global institutions? The present global institutions have failed. We cannot expect more from them in managing the humanitarian crisis. Then another important aspect of this crisis is man-nature relationship. The intensification of the natural use of natural resources like coal, petrol, whatever, jungle, forest, etc., whatever it may be, they have led to this crisis. So why I'm saying this? Because of the opinion of scientists or engaged in these management. So what they're saying actually in different fields, that they are saying there are two narratives emerging. One is the eating habits of some people in some parts of the world have created this virus. This is a narrative which is beneficial to or sympathetic to the neoliberal agenda. Another scientific narrative that is emerging because of the misuse of nature, overuse of nature, or intensification of the use of nature. This is being created because of the binary between man and nature or man-nature relationship. So we have to take it seriously, but the mainstream media in the world today, they are not focusing on these aspects. They are rather focusing on other aspects, and there is rivalry. So now I'll come to what is the possible future what are the possible future in post-pandemic? My argument as I have already told you, we need a multipolar world. So now multilateralism is ended. COVID-19 has signaled the end of multilateral world, because the multilateral institutions that we have today, they have failed in managing the pandemic, this humanitarian crisis. So question is, can there be new multilateral institutions, or what is the direction in which world will go? I cannot predict. We cannot predict. We are not in a position to predict, but we can say this will be better. We cannot have a multilateral. We can have a multilateral world. We cannot have a unilateral world or bilateral world, because we have experienced the negative aspect impacts of these types of world order in previous years, during the colonial, during the Cold War era, and during the unilateral era. The question is, how can we fight for a multilateral world? That is the biggest challenge in post-pandemic world order, post-pandemic society. As we have seen, there is a weakening of the democratic institutions and democratic space all over the world. This will be used as an opportunity by the political right and authoritarian forces and other anti-democratic forces to consolidate themselves and to increase the influence of authoritarian states, both for economic and political reasons. As we have seen, what neoliberalism is saying, that this is a market society, market should be allowed to open up and freedom will come. No, it's a use of the state force to establish the hegemony of the market. So the discourses that we are engaged right now throughout the world, we find two kinds of discourses. One is establishing, re-establishing, recreating the hegemony of the capitalist world, or the capitalism all over the world, to exploit the natural resources, and you use this pandemic to reflect it politically. That means more authoritarian state, more attack on democratic freedom, more attack on democratic spaces, and more attack on democratic opportunity. As we have seen throughout the world, the labor is the most victim, most serious victims of these inequalities during the pandemic. The picture that emerged of the migrant laborers in India and in the borders of other countries, and the lockdown and shutdown. And this is a serious issue that the state failed to protect its own citizens. So the question of citizenship was redefined in the Indian context so far migrant laborers are concerned. They are considered as norms. They are given whereas bleaching sanitization in the border of Uttar Pradesh, and people moving in cycles, moving on foot, child sleeping on baggages. So these are the serious pictures that emerged, in which state has totally failed to protect the basic rights of its citizens. So we cannot allow such a thing, such a situation, such a picture in post-pandemic. That's why my contention is that all the democratic processes all over the world, those who believe in democracy and those who believe in multilateral world or multilateralism, they should come forward, they should join together to build a society, to build a world order based on multilateralism. So this sounds ideal, but this is not ideal. There is no alternative to it. We cannot go for unilateralism, we cannot go for bilateralism. So world cannot be divided into China versus others or America versus China. So you cannot expect Russia, Germany, France aligning with neither with China or with America. So there cannot be a bipolar world. This is not a picture that is going to emerge. There may be a unilateral world with a struggle deciding the nature of world order. That is the struggle between China and America. So China has controlled 16% of GDP. In 2002 or 3, it was 4%. So there is a huge supply chain, production, cheap wage labor. And this is the nature of production, capitalist production system in the entire world. So it has failed, and we have to find the alternative. So then, what is the methodology? What is the way? The people all over the world should engage themselves in creating a multilateral world. The question is, this will not come from heaven or one day or one night. We have to fight in a substantive manner for this. And the states, there is a relevance of what I am going to say, non-aligned movement. It also sounds ideal in a new liberal world that I am talking of a non-aligned movement. So because there is no Cold War, there is no bipolarity or clear leaders in both the groups led by one by America or China. This is not the situation as it was situation during the Russia and America Cold War. So situation is not like this. So the alternative solution will not be like this. All the third world countries, all the developing countries, those who believe in democracy, those who believe in inclusive development, and those who believe in other issues that need cooperation, that need fraternity globally, they should come forward and put a strong contention, strong argument, strong movement for a world order that we need for a multilateral world, that we need for a democratic world, that we need for a just world. So question is how this can be sir. Yes, I am concluding, sir. I have crossed my time. So my final contention is that all of us should join uh, in the domestic spaces inside the boundaries of the state and outside the boundaries of the states to reach at a situation, to reach at a point where third world countries, developing countries, will decide the nature of the world in future. That should be multilateral. That is my final contention. Thank you, Liyaqat sir, and others for giving me patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Manas Beher sir, for giving us an enlightening topic, and thereby also a lot of new ideas were thrown, right from ideological struggles to the destruction of multilateralism, issues of democratic space, the health infrastructure, the health management, the most severe issue of the economic divide, the whole trauma of a migrant labor, like from Mumbai to all over the country. We had huge, like it was around 10 lakh plus people migrated from Mumbai to other parts of India, and thereby you had highlighted a lot of new areas. I hope a lot of questions would be provoked by this particular lecture. Now I request Dr. Priyadarshini Sahu, who is an assistant professor, NAC College, Sambhalpur University, and she will be speaking on cascading economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic in India. Over to Priyadarshini. Kindly unmute your mic.
Thank you very much, sir. Just a minute. Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone, respected chairs, other speakers, and all the audience who are watching us live now. So, thank you very much, sir, for the opportunities for me to speak over here. So today I'm speaking on the topic cascading economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in India. So coronavirus 2019, which is popularly known as COVID-19, is an infectious disease which was first identified in December 2019 in the Wuhan city of China, and since it spread globally and resulting the ongoing pandemic. In March 11, 2020, WHO declared the COVID-19 as a pandemic status. In India, the first case is reported in January 30, 2020, and currently India is the largest number of confirmed cases in the Asia, and as well as the third largest number of confirmed cases in the world after US and Brazil. Presently, there are more than 3.46 million people affected with this pandemic, and more than 60,000 people are died. To prevent the spread of pandemic, on March 24 March 2020, the government of India declared a nationwide lockdown. As a result, nearly all the sectors, all the service sectors and factories were suspended. Hence, the lockdown imposed by the government of India impacted the various sector of Indian economy. It felt sharply in every sector of the Indian economy. I have pointed out few impact of the lockdown in the Indian economy. So I would like to share my slide. So can you do it for me, or I'll do?
You
I
can go
can share.
ahead by sharing from your screen.
Okay, thank you, sir. So
Yeah, it is visible now.
thank you, sir. So this is a few important, area I have pointed out. So the first impact of lockdown in India is slowing demand. Now, slowing demand, basically right now, a large number of consumers all over the country are only spending on essential commodities such as food, groceries, and medicines. So demand for nearly all non-essential goods and services such as cars, jewelry, gold, etc. have remained suppressed. Even though gradual relaxation of the lockdown, large part of the demand are likely to stay passive due to the prevailing jobs and income related uncertainties of people. Second point is closure of manufacturing activities. With all non-essential businesses are closed, most industries have been witnessing a drastic decline in sale. Revenue losses will force business to either close down or they are opting wholesale retirement of workers. Even the capital intensive sectors such as the real estate, the consumer durables may not see a demand revival for several months or quarters. Coming to the next point, which is restrictions on international trade. As you all know, with the impositions of restriction on transportations worldwide, the trade sector also took a hit. Export imports saw a drastic decline in the country, especially in the case of essential commodities such as petroleum, food crops, and coals, and among others. Next, important impact on the crops and tourism, hotel, and aviation industry. Indian aviation industry and hospitality have already sustained maximum damage because of the COVID-19 outbreak. The shutdown is bound to push India's fast-growing aviation industries into the risks. According to a report by the Center for Asia Pacific Aviations, they assess that Indian aviation industry will confronting losses worthly 4 billion in this year. Followed by this, there will also be a large-scale cascading effect for the hospitality and tourism industry, since the hotel and restaurant chains across the country are closed till June 2020. Even the lockdown is relaxed, now they are unlikely to witness a pickup in demand. Next, so currently inbound tourism has come to halt with India under lockdown. The imposition of Section 144, suspension of visa, and global advisory against travel. As of now, there are barely any bookings being made for the future travel, and the previous one all stand cancel. Next point is uh, mass exodus of migrants workers from the urban areas. As the previous presentation Manas pointed out, that this section of population is the main victims of the lockdown. Tens of thousands of migrants workers fled India's largest city looking to return their rural home after the nationwide lockdown, which has left them without job and pay. This section of migrants, they are basically unskilled. They don't have union to represent them. They are no one to guarantee their rights. And these migrants, basically the farmers, the workers who works in the small factories, or those who work in the dhaba, tea stalls, or even the household works in urban India. In the absence of money, job, and food, saving or shelter in larger cities, they had been desperate to reach their villages. Even few migrants even died on the way due to the exhaustion and lack of food. The last impact is which is unemployment. The lockdown has led to large scale of losses of job and income for the migrant workers. There was a loss of 122 million jobs in April 2020, according to a report by the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. Out of that, the small traders and daily wage laborers lost 91 millions of jobs. Followed by this, a survey by Azim Premji University also shows that 57% of the rural workers and 80% of the urban workers lost work during the lockdown. So this is the informal or unorganized sectors. Even the other formal sectors or the larger company across various sectors like media, aviations, retail, hospitality, and automobiles have announced massive layoff in recent weeks. Coming to the impact on economic domain, the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic is an unprecedented shock to the Indian economy. With the prolonged countrywide lockdown and global economic downturn and associated disruptions of demand and supply chain, the economy is likely to face a protracted period of slowdown. Here, broadly speaking, cascading effects are the effects which is arising when an incident affecting one system of functions in society and that propagate to another system of functions due to a dependency between them. I basically focused on these three sectors of the Indian economy, which is primary sector, secondary sectors, or the tertiary or service sector. Focusing on the primary sectors, which include agriculture and industry involved in the extraction of raw materials. So the adverse impact of the COVID-19 on agriculture has been much less if you compare to the manufacturing and service sector. However, the initial lockdown did affect the agricultural activities and necessary supply chain through several channels, such as the input distributions, harvesting, transport order, marketing, and processing. Secondly, the closure of restaurant and transport blockades reduced the demand of fresh produce, which affected both the producer and suppliers. Fish and fish products that are highly dependent on international trade suffer quite early in the development of the pandemic from the restrictions and because of the restrictions and closure of global market. Coming to the secondary sectors, these sectors of economy basically include the light and heavy industrial manufacture of finished goods and products from raw materials. So India industrial productions dropped sharply in April when the country went into lockdown and most factories were not in operation. The sector includes such as mining, manufacturing, and electricity. Manufacturing of consumer durables saw the sharpest decline for the month. Productions were largely shut in April before lockdown. Conditions started to be gradually eased. Not only those companies, even the major companies in India, such as L&T, Ultratech Cements, the fashions and retail wings of Aditya Birla Groups, Tata Motors, etc., these companies either temporarily suspended or significantly reduced operations. The next important sector in the secondary sectors is the micro, small, and medium enterprises, which is MSME sector. As a whole, this sector form a major chunk of manufacturing in India and also play an important role in providing large scale of employment. The MSME sectors itself account for the 33.4% of Indian manufacturing output, employing about 120 millions and generating 45% of Indian export. However, because of the pandemic outbreak, the MSME sector, which is majority of this sectors release on day-to-day business, which is to stay eloped, continue to be the most vulnerable owing to the lockdown and decrease in demand. According to a survey by All India Manufacturing Organizations, revealed that 71% of the business weren't able to pay salaries in March. Next, come to the tertiary sectors, which is this sector basically included all the service provision industries. So business activity across India's service sectors also fell drastically during May as the unfavorable economic effect of the coronavirus pandemic impaired the business operations. It's restricted consumer footfall and led demand to collapse. Indian tech companies somehow managed to deal with the crisis better than that might have been feared. But the Indian firm have already faced cancellations of projects by client across sector due to the reduction in air travel and closing of cities. You can see some data in the slides. I'm not going to discuss all the data, but how the tourism industry we lost 2.1 billion US dollar for March and April alone. All the hotels and airlines got their salary and late payoff. So I'm not discussing the data. Next important sectors, which is apart from those three sectors, is the informal sectors. As per the reports, more than 90% of the workers are from the informal sectors in India. It included 40 to 50 million seasonal migrants. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, since economic activities are standstill, factories are not running, most markets are shut, most of the daily workers lost their job. Disruption in work, wages, income, and food, all three interconnected for crores of peoples in India. Next, come to the logistics sectors. As you all know, the revenue have taken a hit in the railway, bus, airlines, and cab segments of the transportation sector due to the lockdown, because of the government imposed strict guidelines for movement of people and passenger, as well as activity at seaports has ceased with the decline of export-import trade. Next. To deal with the health and economic crisis, government have announced emergency set up special task force on the economy. So the government of India announced a variety of measures to tackle the situations, from the food security and extra fund for healthcare and for the state to sector related incentives, and it also extended the deadline for the taxes. On 26 March, a number of economic relief measures for the poor were announced, totaling of $24 billions under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana for the poor. Followed by this, the Reserve Bank of India also announced a number of measures which would make available $52 billion to the country financial systems. And finally, on 12th May, the Prime Minister announced an overall economic package worth of 20 lakhs crores, which is 280 billion of US dollar, with emphasis on India as a self-reliant nation, which is popularly known as the Atmanirbhar package. It can be concluded the economic impact of this pandemic is likely to be more severe for India in the following manner, since firstly, it increases in poverty, pushing more people to below poverty line, and deterioration of socio-economic inequality. Hence, the post-COVID-19, the focus of the government should be on increasing the employment level, provide financial help to industrial units such as the MSME sector, and yes, a broad socio-economic development plan, including sector-by-sector plan, and an ecosystem that encourages entrepreneurship is also needed, so that those with robust and sustainable business model can flourish. And nextly, I would suggest involvement of the states and the local government may also be crucial in the effective implementation of further fiscal initiatives. And lastly, I can conclude by saying that the global cooperation, especially in the sphere of public health and economic development, is essential. Public health infrastructure will have to be strengthened to avoid this crisis, as well as for the crisis for the crisis which can be emerge in future. Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Thank you, Priyadarshini, for all your am I audible now?
Now, yeah, yes, sir, you are audible now.
Yeah. Thank you for your overwhelming lecture on COVID-19 and its impact on the Indian Indian people and the government. Now, this also brings us to a lot of. You have also provoked us to have a lot of questions, because it's a lively debate that is happening in India. Like, what comes first? Whether the government, when you say the RBI has also declared some packages, and the RBI packages are also included within the Prime Minister's package of Atmanirbhar. and thereby it has created a lot of issues. So I think that a lot of people would take a note of many areas where you have provoked to ask a lot of questions. So now I request our third speaker, Mr. Divya Chopra, from student from Daulat Ram College. Is she there? Hello.
No, sir. She's not
Divya
there.
is there. She's not there.
No, she's not there.
Achha. So now, if she is not there, then we have to increase the time. And Dr. Bhanwar Vishwendra Raj Singh, I request him to speak on the topic impact of COVID-19 pandemic on environmental resources from global to local scale. Dr. Banwar Vishwendra Raj Singh is an assistant professor at Mohanlal Sukhadia University, India, and as Pramod has addressed, like he's also a good friend of and he's also very active onto IR. So we are very happy to hear. And since one speaker has not come, I think you get a benefit of doubt, or you can take 30 minutes where earlier we spoke for 20 minutes, so that we can have much wider discussion onto this particular issue of COVID-19. Yeah, over to Banwar Vishwendra Raj Singh. Yeah, kindly unmute. Huh? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor Liyaqat Khan sir, and thank you, Pramod Jaiswal sir, to giving me a golden opportunity to share my views on this dais. So today I have PPT.
You can share from your share screen.
Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is it fine?
Yes. Fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this is my topic: impact of COVID-19 pandemic on environmental resources from global to local scales, specialists. So we know, and we are suffering from these global health emergencies since from November and December, starting from these global health emergencies, and still continues going on. So right now, all human communities, so in this pandemic conditions, very severe is going on. The environmental is a fundamental component of human and wildlife health. COVID-19 is a global health challenges in 21st centuries. And this is the biggest now. The emergence of SARS and CoV-2 in Wuhan, China in December 2019. And it spread to regional countries and nowadays affecting the more than 210 countries worldwide, represent the first pandemic in history to be caused by the coronavirus. The entire world, everybody knows, and the entire world's lockdown, quarantine, and isolated by the COVID pandemic has resulted in the various impact on the environment and planet resources. COVID-19 pandemic have a radically altered patterns of the energy demand around the world, and many international borders were closed and the populations were confined to their homes, which reduced transport and challenged consumption patterns. So continuously a lot of demand and supply, pattern of demand and supplies is rapidly changing, and so that's why environmental impact of environmental resources is huge. So impact on environment resources is directly and indirectly affected, which is made up two inseparable components. First one is a biotic, and second one is biocenosis, the biotic. First, a biotic, a particular physical environment with a spatial physical characteristic such as climate, temperature, humidity, concentrations of nutrients and pH values. And biocenosis, biotic, a set of living organisms such as animal, plant or microorganisms that are in constant interactions and are therefore in the situation of interdependence. So both are a measure a part component, biotic and abiotic, and both are affected due to COVID-19. So first, talking about the air quality. So in the entire world, we know air pollution is the biggest concern for global community. But in the pandemic situations, what impact on air quality? So let's see. In China, emission fall to 25% at the start of the year. In starting time in China, 20% 25% of the fall, emission fall, as people instructed to stay in home. And different country, different governments, they are prepared guidelines and instructed to stay at home. Factory shuttered and coal use fell up 40% at China's sixth largest power plant since the last quarter of 2019. The proportions of day with good quality air was of 11.4% compared with the same time last year in three cities across the China. According to Ministry of Ecology and Environment, in the Europe, especially in the Europe, satellite image shows a nitrogen oxide NO2 emissions fading away over the northern Italy. A smaller story is playing out Spain and the UK also. According to Kimberly Nicholas, a sustainability science researcher at Lund University in Sweden, say about the emission have dropped. Take transport, just like example, we take a transport, which makes up 23% global carbon emissions. We know around 23% carbon as emit from the transport activities. These emissions have fallen in the short term in the country where the public health measures such as keeping people in their homes have cut unnecessary travels. And driving and emissions are key contributor to emission from transport, contributing 72% and 11% of transport sector's greenhouse gas emissions respectively. This is the air quality changes in the global scenario. First China and Europe and so and so. Next, carbon emissions. So global carbon emissions around 17% decrease in early April. You know, when pandemic conditions was occurred, that start from that to April. Around 17% decrease global carbon emissions and compared to 2019 levels, with the India emissions dropping 26% according to these studies. In India, around 26% carbon emission is reduced due to global pandemic conditions. An international study published in the UK-based journal National Climate Change shows that world experience has a sharp decline in carbon emissions between January and April. UK-based journal is a recently studies come up with, in front of global community, and it say sharp decline carbon emission between January and February and compared to average level in 2019 and could decline anywhere between 4% to 8% by. Other countries like UK and US is a reduced 30.7% and 31.6% emissions respectively. And emissions from land transport accounted for almost half of the decrease, and while power generation accounted for 19%, industry for 25%, and aviation for 10%. So these are the activities to like a carbon emissions reduce in this proportions on the respectively last years. So this is like a globally study. So we can see global daily fossil CO2 emissions, million ton carbon per day. See, 1972, what conditions, carbon emissions, and in 2020, starting 2020, so we can see how graph is continuously is increasing, but in 2020, especially start from January, so sharp declines. So this is global daily fossil CO2 emissions, million ton carbon per day. And especially after lockdowns, yeah, after pandemic conditions start from January, the next graph you can see how decline in like month wise. January, February, March, April, and May continuously is like decline, because all human activities, all transportation activities, all industrializations activities is continuously shuttered down. So that's why the carbon emissions is be sharply declines. And this is a change in global daily fossil CO2 emission in percentage. So see, in the fourth month, start from January to May. So these are sector, residence, public, aviation, power, industry, and surface transport. So in this surface transport, you can see highest, like we can say negativity, negative, like a decrease carbon emissions, like surface transport highest, and another one is industries, power, aviations, public, and residentials. So we can see how decline sector-wise globally carbon emissions in the environment. So this is a case study. This is a case study of Wuhan city. You know, we heard and we know about the epicenter of coronavirus, COVID-19, which is a start from that place. And we can see in 2019 and what conditions of in the NO2, nitrous oxide, in this in the atmospheres. And in 2009, and now next images show is a 2020 images. So you can see how decreases in NO2s and continuously rapidly sharply declines in atmosphere NO2 levels especially. So this is case studies of Wuhan. So this is NASA observatory data informations. So again, this is a case study of Wuhan, again also near Wuhan. So you can see how NO2's densities level is continuously sharply decline. So this is changes in the atmosphere and on the China species. Now we talk about the water quality. First one is air quality, and now talk about the water quality in the Venice. You know, Italy, water is the canal cleared and experience greater water flow. Especially first one pictures, see in pre-COVID-19 conditions. So you can find very turbidity is high and pollution is high, but after COVID-19, so transparent water quality is like a transparent and purified water conditions. So COVID-19 and again, see you can see last one pictures pre-COVID-19 and COVID-19 turbidity levels. We just see and just experience and observe. So all water quality is changing continuously. The increase in water clarity was due to settling to sediment. First one sediment, because you know Venice in Italy, almost transportation activities are based on the navigation, because there is a very less connectivity by road, especially inner side in Venice. So all boat activities like boat traffic and water boat, we can say in Italian language. So a settling of sediment that is a disturbed by boat traffic and mentioned in the decrease air pollutions. So that's why water transparencies and water quality is much higher compared than other times. So this is another case study of Vemnath Lake in Kerala. So this is, you can see, first one is like a pre-lockdown condition. What pre-lockdown conditions? See, SPM level and especially February and March. So higher rather than pre-lockdown conditions. So first when we are seeing the suspended particulate matter is water quality is higher in the pre-lockdown conditions, and after lockdown we can see a lot of changes due to like a as a shutdown of human activities. So this is as a changing in water qualities also. First one is air qualities, water qualities also changing. So yeah. This is a pictures of Haridwar in Ganga, holy river of Ganga. So first one we can see how water transparent is the same, because this is a holy place and every time there's a lot of people gathered and rituals, do the rituals. So lot of water polluted also. But after pandemic conditions, after lockdown conditions, so see less human activity, so definitely the natural resources automatically purifies. So this is, and now we talk about the wildlife. So in wildlife, 4 5 just like with points. First, when did COVID-19 emerge and spread to human from wildlife? So this is very biggest question in front of global community. When corona occurred from the China specialists, so that, and recently I joined the meeting of CMS also, Convention of Migratory Species in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, and that also that in there also discussed about the is it coming from the wild meat, yeah, wildlife, especially because we just talk about the bait virus, especially coming from the bait, and a lot of discussions and debatable, still debatable, because but just like as questionables these things especially. So very important things. And second one is, has there been in the increase in wildlife poaching due to global lockdowns? Yeah, definitely. So a lot of human activities controlled and stop. So that's why poaching activities rise up, because human activities and monitoring was a less monitoring. So that's why poaching, wildlife poaching especially, is higher in lockdown periods. Third one is, how is COVID-19 affecting indigenous people and local community? Because we know on the ground of ecotourism kind of places, especially ecotourism places, there is a big sources, livelihood sources of tourism activities, especially. But you know, in the due to pandemic conditions, due to global health emergencies, most of I think biggest community is affected from these pandemic. I think I can say tourism especially. So because in the tourism there are a lot of informal sectors and there are a lot of people connected and multi-sector holder involved in this situation, like sectors. But through pandemic conditions, and especially indigenous people, you know, where ecotourism activities and where recreations activities is going on, lot of indigenous and native peoples are connected and associated with tourism activity that particular places. But especially COVID-19 affecting a lot of indigenous people livelihood, and so that's why it's very problematic conditions going on right now in front of us. And fourth one is, what are the potential direct impact COVID-19 and non-human primates also, primate and non-primates, because there are a lot of non-primates also. So how can we survive and how can we sustain? This is also questionable in front of global communities. And this is 4 5 pictures I will just show you, and what is the impact on the like a domesticators and wildlife. So to first one picture, see, so how street dogs are affecting, because less human connectivity, less human interactions with pet dogs, pet animals. So this is a very important thing. And second one is in Europe, a lot of deers is sitting in the gardens. And first one picture is like a caveat in the Kerala, and this another one in Karnataka, how elephant and caveat and leopards in coming in the human habitat area also. So, and last one is a Thailand pictures. So a lot of monkeys and coming in the on the blanks road, especially because there is a less human activities and no transportations. So this is a blank places for the these species. So we can see. Uh, and the compare, if we talk about the comparison, so just like positive and negative impacts, first one is air quality improved. Positive, if we talk about the positive impact, it means air quality improved, water quality improved, biomass increasing, vegetation quality improved, and carbon footprint decrease also. This is very important per person in the especially lockdown. And negativity side, first one, increased waste material. Lot of waste materials is continuously uh, uh, dumping, and species, and increased plastic material. Lot of plastic material, increased medical waste. Lot of medical waste is in the whole entire world, because this public health sector is the most like affected by like a pressures in this situation. So that's why medical waste is continuously rise up. And green growth affected, this is very important, because green growth is very affected due to COVID pandemic, because when situation is normal, and we can think about the alternate technology, alternate options, but like economy is like a completely devastations and completely is shattered. So that's why uh, green growth is affected also, and economic slowdown in entire world. I am not talking about our country, especially entire world's economy is slowed down due to COVID pandemic, because all human activities completely shut down. So that's why we haven't heard about the like in railway sectors, okay, railway one day is shut down. No, before earlier, especially in the sector also, aviation sector also, international flight when closed, still is not confirmed. But yeah, this is a very important things. And poaching activities increase. So these are negative impacts also continuously, and also and so lot of another point also. And these are like comparisons. So one pros and cons comes from the COVID pandemic conditions. And one thing information, just I show you World Economic Outlook update June 2020, and this is information of IMF, International Monetary Fund. So this release of data, growth projections, and Christ like in no other and uncertain recovery. First one is the global economies. In 2009, just his predict 2.9, and in 2020 minus 4.9. You can imagine. In 2021, 5.4 rise is trajectories is sad. Second is advanced economics. First one in 2019, 1.7, and 2020 minus 8.0, and 2021 4.8. And emerging market and developing economics, 3.7 in 2019 and minus 3.0 2020, and 2021 5.9, again rise. So in this 2020, I think biggest crisis is going on in this completely year, and next year maybe it will be rise and better conditions for the economic conditions. And message from UN to human communities, especially global communities, by the Secretary Generals, especially he said that call for solidarity. We are facing a global health crisis unlike any in the 75-year history of the United Nations. I can say in the completely human history, in human histories. I think this is the biggest challenge in front of human communities, yeah, global communities, and one that is spreading human suffering, impacting the global economy, and upending people's lives. He also added, he must ensure that lessons are learned, that the crisis provide a watershed moment for the health emergencies preparedness, for it for investment in critical 21st century public services and effective delivery of the good global public goods. We have a framework for the actions, 2030 agenda for sustainable development and the Paris Agreement on climate change. We must keep our promises for people and planet and prosperity also. This is a great message by the United Secretary Generals for the spatially solidarity. And one very famous philosopher and very like an idol our persons, late Mahatma Gandhi said, earth provide enough to satisfy every man's needs but not every man's greed. This is biggest statement if we understand in the coming for the future Earth. So this is like a crux. If we understand these situations, I hope all conditions and all entire scenario of the global community in front of, it will be better, I think. Thank you so much for the hearing me.
Thank you, Dr. Bhanwar Singh, for giving us a very exhaustive lecture
Thank you, sir.
On the impact of COVID-19 on environment.
Yes.
Now, is Divya there to, like, if she is there, then we can hear her also. Divya Chopra there? Is she there, Divya Chopra? No. If she is not there, then we will go ahead. Like the whole impact of COVID-19 has been different in different dimensions. Like each sector has been affected by this particular COVID-19, and thereby you see the states also, the response of the states are also not similar. Each states have responded in a very different dynamic way, and thereby they have created a new issue within. Like, do they really follow what WHO says? Has really brought that particular idea into the fora, that whatever international community wants to say, are they being followed by the state? And thereby you see the whole panel of today has actually discussed on the various ways of looking towards COVID-19 and its in impact. Like Dr. Manas Beher, who spoke on to various challenges and opportunities for a multipolar world order in post-pandemic or COVID-19. While speaking on to various challenges and opportunities, Dr. Manas Beher emphasized onto the role of state, which becomes very important, and thereby a lot of trust has been put by the people onto the state. So people are really dependent onto the state. How do they formulate, and how do they respond? And there is also, you see, the democratic space, which is again in a very difficult situation. We had also Dr. Priyadarshini Sahu, who spoke on the economic aspect of COVID-19, and while deliberating onto the economic aspects, she has very categorically taken the example of India, and she has on various issues, she has deliberated and provoked us to ask so many questions. And thereby I hope that there might be some questions which are there being put onto the chat box, or we will be able to ask questions. Then we had Dr. Bhanwar Vishwendra Raj Singh, who spoke on to the economic environmental aspect of COVID-19, and there was very strong pursuance of the way the COVID-19 has affected our environment, whether it is for betterment or whether it has the effect is actually felt by the humankind, and thereby, and it is not because of the nature, but it is because of the mindset. And thereby I surely consider that it is because of the mindset of the people that we are into such a situation. Like if we could have controlled, and if we could have understood the COVID-19 properly, like it is not a situation where we are fighting with COVID-19, but we would like to stay with COVID-19 and have, then thereby we are trying to build weapons against COVID-19 rather than having a lot of solutions. And thereby you see and the solution should come through policy and programs of the states, and this thereby this development paradigm will actually bring in a lot of new initiatives by states. And now with the same idea, I now request if there is any questions which are there to be asked to the panelists. The floor is open for the questions. Kindly, whoever would like to ask, kindly say, tell his name, spell his name, and from where he is, and then he can go further asking the questions. Over to the panelists. Yeah. Any questions that you see?
Chat box, no question.
Since there is no question in the chat box, so this gives us an opportunity to ask a very large para of questions, and thereby, like this gives me the opportunity, being the chairperson for this particular panel. The first question that I would like to ask Dr. Manas Beher, that why do you feel that there is a failure of the state in response to COVID-19? Because it is not one state which is receiving at a receiving end of COVID-19. It is the world which is at a receiving end. So why do you just blame one state for the failure of not responding properly? Yeah, over to Manas Beher, sir.
Thank you, sir, for this relevant question.
Yeah.
My contention was that it's not a failure of a single state; it's the failure of the entire global order of states. So, global order is a neoliberal in its character, in its nature, and the neoliberal order has failed to contain the pandemic, to manage the pandemic. It is because of the political economy of neoliberalism, that is the weakening of the public health system in major developed capitalist countries. If you compare it with Cuba, Vietnam, or other small states, you will see there are success stories. But in case of developed nations like America, France, or Italy, what we have observed, observed that there is a weakening of the public health system. And this pandemic, this public health system came to rescue. In India also, all the government hospitals, the temporary hospitals set up in Panchayat institution at the village level, they came to the rescue of the patients, not the private hospitals. And the private hospitals, those who are treating COVID-19 patients, they are charging exorbitant rates which are not being affordable by the common people, poor people. So what I said it's the failure of the neoliberal global order. That is what I said. And all the major developed states like America kneel down before COVID-19. So we should now, in post-pandemic, try to re-establish, recreate, re-strengthen the public system. That is what the message given by UN Secretary General. I am thankful to Singh ji for sharing the message of UN Secretary General, that public investment should be on public goods like health, education, etc., to achieve sustainable development goals. That is what I said. And in case of India, we know the public health system came to the rescue, not the private health system. And last 20 years, we have encouraged private health system, which is based on complete insurance. And in America, 27% people don't have health insurance. And India, more than 60% people don't have health insurance. So how they can get the benefit of private health system? This is what I said. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. This brings me to the second question, which you have provoked me to ask. That
Sir.
Do you also feel that the states have become hostile? Hostile in the sense, like you see there's a race between states to come out with a vaccine. They are not going together. There's a coercive method of getting the vaccine also.
Pardon, can you repeat, sir?
What I say is the states have become a lot of hostile.
Yeah.
The actual requirement of COVID-19 was supposed to be, you should be aligned with WHO and have a proper guidelines in order to get the vaccine. Now each state in the world is coming out with a different vaccine. They are trying to get from their own euphoria, and this is what is this is where we are seeing that there's a problem. The states are hostile to their own neighborhoods, like India, Pakistan. They're not cooperating.
Yeah.
The actual situation should be, because of COVID, the neighboring states should cooperate, but they are not.
No, no,
What
this
is
is
your
the ideal. You are saying the ideal situation in which we should cooperate Pakistan in containing, in managing pandemic, and
yeah?
America should cooperate with other states. Every state should cooperate with other states. And when Russia is saying that we have a vaccine, and we are accusing, many states are accusing and creating issues. So question is, it is a global problem. What I said in my presentation, it's a global problem and we need a global solution. But we are doing a local solution. We are
Yes,
fighting with each other.
yes,
We
yes.
don't have a global vision, global
अभी ये
leadership. That is
discussion
the
चल रहा है
crisis
इधर.
today. That is the
Yes.
contradiction today. That is
Yeah,
what I
that's a
said.
that
Yeah.
is where the global situation has to have a local answer to that.
Yeah.
Yes. This brings me to another question to Dr. Priyadarshini Sahu. That do you really see that the Indian government at this present juncture will be able to come out of this economic problem? Because the way the problem has been manufactured, it does not seem that it will be able to be managed at least for a year at least. What is your take onto this particular situation?
Yes, I basically focused on what kind of impact of the lockdown or the ongoing pandemic affected to India. Coming to the Indian government response to the COVID-19, I only focus few steps taken by the government of India, at least publicly, either it's not practically or something like that. So I didn't say that this is successfully Indian government's mitigating the conflict, and Indian government are actually wanted to, mitigate the conflicts. So yes, I can only give my opinion. A package can never boost the economic, but yes, the proper implementations can. The package, the Atmanirbhar package by the government, this package included, many things which is announced earlier, like the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, that was a step taken by the RBI. I think it's in 2016. But there are two type of economic policy, which is maybe the fiscal policy to revive the economic, which the government help all of us to benefit from the earning by the government through taxes, and there is a monetary policy to revive the economic, which is the economic that these 20 lakhs crores made. If the policy properly work, that Atmanirbhar package things, which is basically the fundamental thing should be that manufacturing our own products, which has earlier not been produced, and give special service and give special educations and generate employment for the unemployed, train them the skill through IIT and Skill India, and these things. So the results of this package, the results depends upon how the implementation of the plan and program is carried out down the line, with the seniority of purpose and effective implementations with resilience, determination, dedications, and commitment. The package announced may not satisfy all the sections of the peoples, but if an honest attempt has been made and to be implemented, at least a few sectors of the economic maybe revive. It is not completely end the crisis, but somehow it might benefit to few sectors of people.
Yes. Thank you, Priyadarshini. This brings me to the last
Sir,
question.
I have a question for Priyadarshini.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. So she has presented the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the packages announced by the Prime Minister and all.
Yeah.
So my question is, she has not given a thought or presentation to the contradiction inherent in this system. When Government of India is going for privatization spree, like privatizing railways, privatizing coal sector, privatizing Navaratnas and public sector, you cannot have a Atmanirbhar Bharat. What General Secretary of United Nations is saying, that is more investment in the public good and public sector, and India is not doing this. India is not right now at least, and not in immediate future also. So how can there be the success of Atmanirbhar Bharat? You cannot go for Atmanirbhar Bharat, at the same time you cannot go for privatization. These are two contradictory ideas.
Yeah, uh, right. So you're very right on that. Since I didn't focus more on the economic packages by the government, I actually focus in my presentation. I basically focus more on the impact of the economic. I didn't address most of the what kind of solutions got by the governments. But you're very right. When the government is focuses more on the privatizations than the social welfare, even for the migrants workers, as you said, they are the worst victims. Even the government did not arrange buses as train, most of the buses and train for the migrant workers also. Giving only the rations to the peoples cannot mitigate the conflict. I can say, when the economic system is fragile, why should anyone take loan to invest in the business? If governments wanted to spend more on the private sector and privatizations and providing loan to the MSME sectors or other business things to revive the economics, and it's very true. If the social and welfare thing should be come on the first uh, to uh, to make the India more self-reliant nation.
I hope she has answered partially and tried to give you some thought. And thereby we come to the third panelist, Dr. Bhanwar Singh ji. There's one question which provoked me to ask. Like, when we say environment, there are a lot of civil society organizations which are working on a big way, and thereby, and this has been funded by the international community, and thereby you see that, and you see that this is only happening on the urban neighborhood. It is not happening on a rural area, and thereby COVID-19 effect is more seen on an urban cities rather than on a rural villages. So do you see that there's a politics of environment which is happening by the state? What is your take?
Yeah.
Dr. Sir.
Thank you, sir. But I think this is not politics, because all the global community is working for the human welfare, especially, and state also. But mostly NGOs and private institutions working very near urban areas, especially urban hinterland, because they first try to see conveniency, and they don't want to go in like deprived in between deprived sections society and the backward areas, especially they are focusing on the convenience specialists and accessibility. So I think but this pandemic condition is the most heat like a as a epicenters in the urban area, and due to especially I can say like health issues also, because rather than rural community and compare if rural community and urban community in the regarding of the health issues, so I can say rural community is much immunity higher rather than urban communities. So I can say some people is maybe doing malified intentions to work like these things, but I cannot say whole communities is working like towards these directions. Thank you.
Like, this brings me to another question. Like,
Yeah.
do you really see that the economic inequality is also being creating a large disparity amongst people because of the COVID-19?
Yeah, definitely. But sir, individuals, like individual, yeah, like a state, yeah, maybe global communities, not involved in this pandemic conditions, because it's happening from one place to across the globe, to all the planet, on the planet, and we are suffering from these conditions. So I cannot say like individual person, yeah, state only are suffering. So we are all, we like all community, global community is just suffering from this thing. And definitely they have and have not concepts. Maybe some people have a resources, maybe you after lockdowns will be rise on your that property, but maybe like deprived sections and deprived societies and would be like a gap is higher, maybe are rich and poor peoples maybe. But it maybe I can say this is a huge impact on the like this side.
Yeah, you also see that like there is a disparity of the environmental resources being used by the urban societies on a wider scale.
Yeah.
And thereby you also have to understand that uh, does this situation how has benefited environment, not the people. The humankind has not realized that the environment is also an advantage,
Yes, yes.
and this advantage will automatically reap you.
Yeah,
Reap you.
yeah. Definitely, sir. In this, like every situation has a pros and cons, and in the conditions like right now in pandemic conditions, so we have a lot of positive impacts on the environment also. Like I just show you 2 3 examples: air qualities and water quality and biomass in that health specialists. So definitely because human activity is very like a completely like a shutdown, yeah, lockdowns. So that's why human intervention is very negligible in this cycle of the nature. So definitely is the resources of the naturally is are higher, मतलब like उनकी health is higher rather than other times.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thereby you I hope we are on time. It is already 3:15.
Okay.
We are approaching on a comfortable time.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
we are giving the organizers a perfect time to switch over to the next session.
Yeah. Sure,
So
sure.
over to Rao Sir Bavaskar. I really thank everybody, like Dr. Manas Behra, Dr. Priyadarshini, and Dr. Bhanuvar Singh sir. We will definitely catch up with you all again back from Mumbai after
Yeah,
the
yes.
things get over.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Sir, thank you so much for we have wonderful discussion on these platforms, and definitely catch you in coming time future we connect each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Khan sir,
Thank
for
you.
coordinating very well.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. This also has happened because of a good panelist. Good panelists also are there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Over
you
to
for coming all.
yeah.
Thank you, distinguished chair, speakers, and ladies and gentlemen. As we come to an end of this session, it is my great honor to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of NIICE and WPC. I would like to express our gratitude and sincere thanks to Professor Liyaqat Khan for accepting our request to chair the session. Our sincere thanks goes to all the speakers for delivering such a comprehensive and insightful presentation. We are honored to have all the speakers with us here today. We would like to acknowledge our gratitude to our friends from diplomatic community, experts, academia, media, and different organizations. Last but not the least, I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for our audience who participated in the webinar and those who were watching us online. We are truly honored to have you all with us this afternoon and hope to stay connected with you in the future as well. I kindly request all of you to join our next session also. Thank you.
Thank you.